Hey, this is Sebastian, and let me copy this live stream. I'm going to post it into the Reddit product management channel. Give me 1 second here, and then I'll give a little introduction about what we're going to talk about today. Still a streaming newbie, so I'm sure there's a way to probably get your live stream link ahead of time, but I'm still learning. Okay. Posted that in the Reddit product management channel. Take a look at that if you have questions after this video. This will be about 20 minutes. We'll keep this relatively short. And the focus of today will be looking at Asana and using Asana to organize customer feedback. And I'd started a discussion in the Reddit product management channel last month, and a user there had mentioned that they used Asana for organizing all their feature requests, all their bugs, and anything else that comes in, and setting that into different projects, and then in turn being able to track those projects once the team started working on it. And I hadn't really used Asana much before. I'd used Jira probably most in my previous jobs and a bunch of other smaller tools. But I know Asana has been getting a lot more popular in the recent years, and I'm surprised I haven't used it more myself. But some of the companies I'm working with now, they use Asana, and so I've been ramping up on that as well. And the things I noticed about Asana were kind of interesting, and probably I'd probably compare that most to Product Board in terms of my experiences one-to-one, in terms of this newer software, but it's a lot cleaner than Jira, maybe a little less. Jira always felt very engineering focused for some reason. I guess I always use it as an engineer or software developer. Asana seems a little bit more higher level and capable of using it for a lot of different types of workflows. So I assume that's why most people like Asana, because it seems a little bit more flexible. So in the background over here above my head, and you can see this board that I made. So this is a customer feedback board. And I'll talk a little bit more about this and what's on it and how I used it. But I did want to talk about my initial experience of this with Asana. So when first using Asana, it felt kind of like a slot machine. I don't know if that's an appropriate experience, but let me go into here into Asana, and if you mark something as done, you have all these different animations run across the screen. It felt kind of like you're in Vegas, and I assume they do that on purpose. And I know you can turn those animations off, but I know that's also a more common trope you'll see on a lot of products. But adding a bunch of features and really playing with it felt like they're trying to up the level of eye candy and addictiveness there. And then I set up for this new project. You can go in here into Home, and you can create new projects. I use the customer feedback project, and I had to customize this a little bit to my needs. For the most part, a lot of the fields make sense, and I know you can set you can even use forms to auto-populate a lot of the fields. But this initial customer feedback form is what I had, and then I ended up customizing a lot of the fields. So I actually used the score field. I deal a lot with apps, so app ratings have a score of 1 to 5, and then I color-coded them. They did have a couple different types fields. I ended up using my own. There's this thumbs up field, which is the number of people that thumbs up a review that they see. And then there is a version. And over here, I ended up just putting the text of the review in much greater detail. And you can actually go in to individually, and you can also see other stuff in here, like the URL to the review, added the username over here. And so I tweaked that. And I got all of this data from Google Play's API, so you can actually query that directly. I got that. I turned that into I think it's JSON. You can convert that into CSV. There's a lot of great tools out there for that. And then I took a CSV file and then I uploaded that to Asana. I was surprised there actually wasn't an integration with Asana and something like AppBot which is a tool that I have a video on that previously. I really like it. I've used it for years. I guess you could have some custom configuration between Asana and maybe Zapier and a bunch of other, maybe with AppBot, you can pipe in reviews there. But that's how I uploaded the reviews. And the review or the importing of text. So if you go to this, no, it's not that plus area. Let me look back to, I think it's under more. No, this one. Yeah, there's just so, again, this is like pretty overwhelming for a first-time user. It did take me like half an hour to figure stuff out. I know if you use this for a long time, a lot of this stuff is kind of second nature, just like Jira. I assume it's just super overwhelming when I first started using it. But after using it for a number of years, just kind of get used to it. And then this import field for the CSV, and then I drop the CSV in here. The organization and being able to manipulate the types of the CSV was not ideal. Like when you import a CSV into maybe some other applications, you get a little bit more functionality in terms of dictating the types and stuff like that. It worked okay, but it's something that if I was doing this integration, I might want to be a little bit more cognizant of in terms of what's imported here, and maybe there is an intermediary solution, maybe with like Zapier or something else that you could easily pipe in information a little bit easier. And so that was my experience getting the data in, setting this board up, and and you can have this text field, and then I guess these are called dropdowns. A dropdown field is the Asana parlance, and then you can add explicit types here. And so once I set all of that up, the first thing I did, there's about over 100 reviews here. This is for the Trello application, which I tend to look at quite a bit. I sorted all the fields. I don't think I organized them by score. I just had them in the default order that they were in. But the score was helpful because I could easily tell, like, okay, was this a 1-star review? I need to go in and actually look at explicitly what is this user saying. And the 5-star review, with that big 5-star, it was a lot easier to know that there wasn't necessarily a problem. And then once I got into looking at the issue, I tried to assign it a type. So there's a bunch of types in here. I have a dark mode, a needs help, a notification, a power up, a spam, a syncing, needs more information. I thought I had 2, no, just 1. Profile, release note, zoom out, zoom in, timestamp, cannot log in, missing stars, too complicated. I think I ran out of colors at the end over here, drag and drop, image management, vertical list scrolling. These are all very specific to Trello, and the user needs. And you can actually, one thing that I did have trouble with was seeing like an easy way to see all of the issues of a certain type. I assume you can do like a filter or something like that, but that's something that I might have want even a little bit easier to just like click in there and just like see all the dark mode stuff. Maybe an Asana expert has like a smarter way of doing that other than doing a filter. But once I got that set up, I was able to start categorizing them, and editing these fields was kind of tricky too. Because you can go in here and then you can edit the field, and then you can like add stuff. But while I was in there, like looking at it, I just wanted to add the field immediately, or the type to that field immediately. So, I know on Jira, like when you just like type in like a tag, like it allows you to start applying that tag immediately to others. So like that tagging functionality and being able to create tags on the fly, would have been a little bit nicer. But this can also get abused, and like if you misspell the tag on one place and use the uppercase and lowercase version 2 different places, like you have 2 different tags. And so maybe Asana wants the tagging functionality to be a little bit harder to do, so that they're a little bit more in place. So those were my initial impressions, actually going through, analyzing the data, and some of the stuff that felt easy, and maybe compared to some other tools, like especially like with Jira, how did that compare 1-to-1? And the other thing that I really like about Product Board in comparison to here is, maybe there's a way to do this in Asana. Maybe I'm not as familiar with this, But in like product board, you can actually highlight text and tag individual portions of text. So for like this feedback, if there was 2 different items that the user was talking about, right now I can only mark one type. Ideally, it would be nice to be able to mark, a couple different types, for example, for each one. And there's probably a way to do that, just not as familiar. So I'll go back and go over here. And so that's something that definitely stood out. Maybe there's a better way to organize that in Asana. Looking through my notes. Yeah, so I think that covers a lot of the initial experience and what was easy and what was harder for me. But yeah, the main thing I'd want is to be able to take action on this data. So like, I find out I have 15 reviews related to dark mode and see like the scores of all those reviews. That's something that would, when I was working at product manager, engineering manager, looking at all this feedback, that's what I want to dig into a little bit more. So it'd be great to hear, what people are thinking. Maybe there's some improvements. Maybe there's some obvious things that you use in your workflow that is related to organizing user feedback, either in Asana or whatever program that you like. And I would love to hear how you approach the task, and maybe in Asana there's a much simpler way to do this, and I'm just not as familiar with it. So that's an overview of what I experienced, what I found. I would love to hear your feedback. Maybe there's another tool that'd be interesting to do something similar with. Maybe I'm thinking about product board for next week. And doing something similar and having a side-by-side experience. Because my last video was with AppBot, and I showed how the tagging system works. And AppBot's really made just for a certain use case. Asana is just so powerful. Like you can have so many different workflows, and so like the tagging functionality, like it's it's a nice feature on there. But something like these types fields, these seem like so essential to Asana. You can start transferring that out, start assigning that stuff to like an engineering team to start working on, right? As opposed to an app bot, you have a tag, but you probably use something like Asana to like maybe track or manage the work. And so I like having everything all in one place. And maybe there is a way to get that type of integration between different services, something like AppBot and this, or whatever review service or feedback service you use for collecting that information and getting that plugged into this in a very simple manner. So yeah, let me know what you think. Let me know, what I should look at next. And yeah, would love to hear your feedback. So again, I'll post that Reddit link in the over here in this live YouTube description, and I'll definitely check the thread going forward. And yeah, Happy New Year! It's good to be back and starting this up again. And I look forward to doing another live broadcast next week, dealing with user feedback, dealing with organizing that, managing that, and better understanding what. How to improve that process, because that's what I'm super interested in. Cool. Well, take care and see you guys next week.